As I elaborated in the presentation, the key issue is that when the health system was initially set up, it didn't take into account where the population is today in terms of its healthcare needs, its aging, and so on. Today, people suffer from multiple morbidities. There are more chronic cases, and so on. Plus, the hospital system in the past was designed around having patients admitted into hospital and remaining in hospital for an extended period. This is no longer how healthcare is consumed these days. Now we need to keep the patient for as short a time period in hospital as possible and discharge them either back home or into rehabilitation or step-down facilities. The other factor is the overuse of emergency services, and that's usually driven by breakdown in faith and belief in what the primary healthcare system can do. So you need to restore faith in the primary health system, and through that make people less reliant on emergency and actually going to get their treatments at primary healthcare situations.
And how does restore primary care?
Yeah. Well, it's a long process. It requires multiple measures to be taken into account, and any health system that wants to bring primary healthcare back to becoming the central place where people go for their healthcare needs to do several things at the same time. Number one, they need to strengthen primary healthcare and make it more encompassing, so that primary healthcare isn't just about seeing a GP or a family doctor. It can usually offer, in addition to that, specialist consultations, sometimes some day surgeries, some of the tests and so on, and to also create like groupings of different primary healthcare facilities so that they can, between them, also offer some of the services. So that's one thing, strengthen the primary healthcare system. The second is an education campaign to people. Because if you strengthen the primary healthcare system but people aren't aware of it, then they're not going to use it, and then you'll end up with additional cost on the system. What we've done in the design for Brasov is to actually create a modern style primary healthcare facility at the hospital itself. Actually, it's adjacent to the emergency center. So if people would normally come to the emergency care unit, they will have a pre-assessment, and at that level, at that stage, they will be advised to go to the primary health care. That means there's less pressure on emergency, and the education process can start that way. And as this kind of concept gets rolled out into other hospitals, there'll be more and more awareness, and then you can start to build up more primary health care facilities.
Which are the costs of this construction?
It's too early at this stage to actually tell the construction cost, because we've come up with the costs are driven by ultimately the number of beds and the specialties and the size and so on. And although we've put some framework for that, that still needs to be taken into further detail. The equipment cost as well would have to be derived more carefully. So that's the kind of thing that we can advise on after the feasibility stage is completed.
What are the next steps after this study?
So this study provides the basic framework now to go into the more detailed analysis. With the help of EBRD, there will be an appointment of another consultant. So the work we did will be an input into that work, a starting point. They will go into the study in much more depth, much more detail. And from that, for example, things like deriving the capital costs, the operating costs, and so on. And then once that is completed, the intention is to take it forward, obviously, to the implementation phase.
Thank you.
Your name is?
Nasser Massoud.
With double S?
Pardon?
Double S?
Yes.
Okay,
Double
thank you
S.
very much.
I'll give you a business card.
Oh, please,
Okay.
please.